In the first generation of Pokemon games, there are multiple levels of intelligence the enemy AI can have. But for Lorelei, the first Elite Four member, Game Freak put in this extra line of code when her dugong is sent out. For some reason, this line of code exists only in Pokemon Yellow, not in Red or Blue. But to understand this weird modification to Lorelei's AI, we need to understand how AI works in the first generation of games in the first place. All the following information has been pulled from Pokemon Speedrunning Wiki, so for full details on all of the things that we're talking about today, check the link in the description. The baseline, or level 0 AI, is given to wild Pokemon as well as the youngster and Cue Ball trainer classes. The only instructions for them is to use any of their moves at random. Not super complicated, and I'm not sure why Game Freak decided Cue Ball trainers and youngsters have the same intelligence as wild Pokemon, but there you go. The first level of AI is given to every trainer except for the previously mentioned youngster and Cue Ball trainer classes. The only rule for this level of AI is that if a Pokemon already has a status condition, don't use a move that has that status condition. So if I send out a sleeping Charmander and the enemy AI has a level 1 AI, it won't use Sleep Powder since Charmander's already asleep. Pretty simple, right? But it only gets weirder from here. Level 2 AI applies to the following trainer classes: Pokemaniac, Super Nerd, Juggler, Psychic, Scientist, Gentleman, and Lorelei. They're also given a pretty simple rule. On the second turn any given Pokemon is sent out, prefer stat boosting or stat lowering moves. You know, your growls, your tail whips, and smoke screens. But also included in this list of moves is random stuff like Payday, Swift, and moves that heal, like Rest. Speedrunners and coders who have spent a lot of time dissecting this code believe that this is an error on Game Freak's part, and the rule should have been applied on the first turn. In any case, you can see how speedrunners can start to use some of these mechanics to their advantage, through things like using healing or stat boosting items on the second turn. Alright, so the third level of AI is where shit starts to get funky, so pay attention here. Level 3 AI is given to the following trainers: Sailor, Pokemaniac, Burglar, Fisher, Swimmer, Beauty, Rocker, Professor Oak, who is an unused trainer in this game, Giovanni, Cool Trainer Male, Cool Trainer Female, Misty, Surge, in Red and Blue only for some reason, not in Pokemon Yellow, Erica, Koga, Blaine, Red and Blue only again for some reason, Sabrina, again Red and Blue only, Lorelei, and Lance. Every trainer that has level 3 AI is considered to have good AI, because this level of AI actually allows enemy trainers to incorporate type effectiveness into their decision-making process. Basically, the AI uses this long list of type effectiveness in order to check if the move it's about to use is super or not very effective against you. And because it checks in this order, it results in some weird outcomes. For example, during the rival fight on SS Anne, your rival is programmed to have level 3 AI. So if you have a Nidoking and your rival sends out Ivysaur here, the AI will read through this table, and because the list has Grass being super effective against ground up higher than Grass being not very effective against poison, Ivysaur is programmed to only use Leech Seed and Vine Whip against Nidoking, because it sees that matchup first in the list. Also, as an interesting side note, your rival is actually programmed as 3 different trainer classes so that he could have different levels of AI. They actually give him 3 different trainer sprites too throughout the game to signify the trainer classes as well. It's a pretty cool way to show off his strength progression throughout the game. Last but not least, there's Special AI. So basically, Special AI is the last layer and the pinnacle of intelligence in the first generation of Pokemon games. It's given to every gym leader, Elite Four member, and the champion, along with cool trainers, jugglers, and black belts. Basically, it determines some specific switches and item uses that these trainers can do, and is determined by rolling a random number. For example, Misty's AI will roll a number between 0 and 255. And if that number is less than 64, she'll use an X Defend. That balances out to like a 25% chance. Something weird here too is that enemy trainers can use items or switch even if their Pokemon is locked into a move. So if Giovanni's Dugtrio uses Dig, Giovanni can still use Guard Spec on the turn that Dugtrio is underground. Okay, so if you've been following so far, you might have noticed that there's one trainer that has every level of AI, Lorelei, but that's not all. Game Freak inexplicably put in this extra line of code in Pokemon Yellow. So Lorelei's Dugong has the moves Bubble Beam, Aurora Beam, Rest, and Takedown, right? But this weird bit of code says that for each one of her moves, there's a 40% chance Lorelei's AI doesn't take type effectiveness into account. So for example, speedrunners will have Nidoking out during this fight, and because Dugong has 3 super effective moves in Bubble Beam, Aurora Beam, and Rest, it normally would never even consider using Takedown. But because of this weird added rule, there's around a 1.5% chance it uses takedown, assuming every other move gets the 40% chance of not being considered super effective. Hope that makes sense. It doesn't really change the course of the run, but it's just weird that they decided to code that in the first place. And speaking of weird AI bugs, the AI is broken in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green 2. So broken in fact that it saved Alpharad's first Nuzlocke when he should in fact have lost. But that's a topic best saved for another day.